Now, I mentioned the condensation. This is simple life, but more important is I wish there were a better word than Zen. Actually, the better phrase is fait accompli. Accept a fixed problem. All these people that, well, actually, I get one person a month coming to stay here. I'm going soon. They all go on about complicated, clever, expensive methods of dealing with their condensation. You'll never deal with your condensation. I've stayed here for 6 months. I've monitored, I've observed what causes the condensation, and it's all meteorological. The humidity, relative humidity, etc. Now, find a solution that's actually a habit, and also a habit that will take you forward into other realms of existence, which is, my habit is to keep my pieces of paper. I spend half the day writing, thinking, keep your pieces of paper in plastic. And then when the occasional, well, there's probably, you get 30 drops a morning coming off the roof. Your paperwork is safe from the drips. And the point being that drips from the roof, condensation going onto a woolen rug, is just not an issue. That's the whole point of a woolen natural fabric rug. It absorbs it. And right, that's not really why I put the camera on. Why did I put the camera on? Incongruity, people might think. That plastic wallet is 20 years old. If you keep, it's got some sellotape on the bottom, I think. Yeah, take care of your plastics. Get the most out of them. That sounds like it's preaching. I put the camera on for a reason. Simple life. Once I've returned my office, having had a clean up, in 5 minutes, the front of the cap will be back to everything lives in a specific place. If you cut it so toilet paper lives up there. If you cut it down so to the basics, the minimum, and then you have your little habits of, I know that toilet paper is always there, and blah blah blah. My God, your energy is good. You're freed up. Oh, I'll probably say it 100 times, but this is not about living in a van. I intend to get somewhere else with a plug soon. But psychology, accepting where the goalposts are with people, is the absolute. I mean, every time we turn on Radio 4, I listen to Radio 4 as. In fact, this needs to be said to the camera. I've only ever encountered one person, and that was recently, who is happy to use the word critic. It's a word that's got so much baggage, it's difficult to use. Putting the word into a context. Constructive criticism is modern civilization, because we have a world full of so many possible dangers. That's the truth. I mean, I was watching the unheard debate that I'm going to post, but I'm going to put as a link, if I remember, last night on Ukraine. There is no consensus. You have, okay, that's technically what a debate is. I care about my appearance, and I'm always constant I have a bit of candle wax there. This is the only problem in life. If you've got a candle wax stain, anyway, we'll deal with that later, because this is my trusty. You see, when you're dealing with this, people have different ways of talking about it. The military-industrial complex, I call it the monolith, the beast. The monolith is mainstream media. The whole, well, it's become even more an issue, not in terms of having injections, the medical complex, meaning it's utterly infected everybody's way of life. I've never had a headache in my life. Well, actually, I had one for the first time, well, actually, for 40 years, 3 or 4 days ago. I don't mind. But I wouldn't dream of ever taking a paracetamol or anything like that, or any kind of. Now, I'm going to be doing some things on mental health in a bit, in a few days. I'm an expert on mental health. Not because I'm a lunatic, but because I've thought about it very carefully for many years. We shall come back to that. But what was I saying? Yeah. If you have all of these, I mean, even you have, I mean, it's actually really interesting, this UnHerd debate, because Hitchens, Peter Hitchens, is like, for all his supposedly sort of modern liberal opining, and he can be quite good on some things, nevertheless, the angst within him so comes out. Point being, your two sides, well, there's often more than two sides, there is not going to be consensus in this modern society. It's dangerous. And why did I mention my top? Because I've had this top about 30 years. And all my hats come from charity shops. Yes, I wear different hats. Having something that is just a constant, that reminds you, all of our modern society has become cant and vanity. Okay, you could call this my comfort blanket. No, it's just like having something, a few things as possessions that symbolize, just a lot of them, including all my own British acquaintances thus far. Really. I mean, it makes me happy, proud that I've carefully looked after this plastic, but it comes from somewhere interesting. There's something at the top of this that on mental health, but it's mental health and justice. Even Hans didn't follow through. Now, that's the saddest thing of many sad things I've encountered in my life the last decade, trying to be useful in society. That's a man who I sat with for an hour who told me of a terrible, he says, now I've known this man for 15 years. He told me of something that is terrible. An arrest and various things, him and his partner, and an allegation of mistreating an 8-year-old daughter. And the daughter removed from them for several months. Now, I'm a legal and justice expert, and he knows that, and he does. So I said to him, okay, let's have a proper talk about this, because so he told me the story, or his version. Now, this chap is about the only chap who I really kind of trusted, because he told me that he voted Brexit, and then quite soon afterwards, despite being German, but living here many years, a few months afterwards, I would pop in, and he works in a town 20 miles away. Over the year or two that followed, every few months I'd pop into where he worked. And he's a funny, nice man. And he would gradually say, and it was so interesting, he gradually changed his mind. Oh, we've been lied to. I've been lied to. I was a fool, etc. He's about 45. So I really respect this man because he told me that he'd gradually changed his mind. Now, no British person seems to be able to do that ever about anything. So I respect him, value him immensely. However, and he knows this, I've said to him many times. So we sat down, it was about 9 months ago, and over an hour, but it wasn't the ideal setting. There were other people around. He told me the whole story of this supposedly, this terrible, terrible course of events. Alleged a child had been sort of almost put in a dog cage, having misbehaved. He was so sincere. He totally and utterly, I believed his version. And the following day I call up, and he ghosts. Because we'd agreed to meet a few days afterwards, and he knows I'm a super organised legal expert. He never got back to me. Now, what's the point of me saying that? Well, I'm going to expand on this, and I never identify anybody. Let's be crystal clear. I don't know anymore who's telling the truth. Now, he's one person who I truly, truly valued, trust. I've used him for a commercial reason because I totally trust him. I mean, this is over 15 years. And we've had great, real, not polite, two-faced chats, great, real chats, quite often. But I don't know who's telling the truth. I don't know if he, and by default, him and his partner, although I've never met his partner, coming through the conversation with him, if their position is true or they're lying. I don't know anymore. There is no point. There is no point in doing any function, caring for people in that mode in Britain. He's the one person within 50 miles of here who I would have said, he's going to be totally straight up. I got a recording of our conversation. I would never, ever release it. But it's like, that to me is the point where you say, schism. Tragically. I mean, it hurt me for a few days. Tragically, give up.